All right, we're rolling. Welcome, Jelle.
Thanks, man.
Nice to have you here.
Nice to be here.
Thanks for playing some guitar in preparation to get us all mentally sharp and inspired.
A little bit of music every now and then is the way to go, I guess.
Absolutely keeps us happy and keeps us fresh.
It does.
And grateful for life.
Definitely.
General. So special guest today. Usually doing this with Wes now for these first several episodes. Just to introduce you, and then you can take over. You're Jelle. You're the founder at Noco. And yeah, and we have been working together for a couple of months now. We've known each other for a couple of years. And you're the founder and head of studio. I was named CEO. Super cool, of course. And we've been going at it, my friend. We've been going at it, doing a lot of work, making a lot of improvements, looking towards the future, and making life better and easier for our customers and also for ourselves and the team. So we'll jump into that. But this episode is actually fully focused on beautiful aesthetics. Aesthetics. So we're talking about design a lot, but we will also talk about no-code and low-code tools for web design, because that for web development and design, because that is what Noco was born from. Who are you? Who are you?
Who are you? I think I'm a creative person. I'm a person who loves to who loves to create things, right? Like, I'm creative. I love music. I always loved music and creativity. I mean, I also did a school called Communication and Multimedia Design, sorry. That was born out of my whole creative urge to build nice things, basically. That's Jelle in a nutshell. I know there's way more behind it, but yeah.
Let's dive into that. Let's completely psychoanalyze you in this coming hour. Now, let's focus on Noco. Yeah. Like, I obviously know, but how did Noco start?
Noco started basically out of a couple of things. Me, myself, and Wes had a huge background in product design, basically building products for SaaS companies and tech, and we have a lot of history in that. However, we really had the urge to, basically productize our offerings and also systemize our operations. And at the same time, we saw like a huge SaaS and tech trend coming up in the late 20s, and basically we wanted to combine everything regarding that with tools such as Webflow. So basically build websites in a faster way than a lot of companies were used to. A lot of companies were pretty much like hassling with a long development trajectory, I would say.
Right.
And therefore, design was more subjective, where I think design should be more on top of everything.
Right, it should all start with design. By the way, try to stay directionally into the mic, because they're super sensitive for direction. I've learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, just to summarize, so you guys were working at Eli 5 for a long time, which is a software studio.
Yep.
Same family of companies as Noco, and still a frequent collaborator. And you basically spotted the trend in the market. Funny thing is, that is actually how I came to meet you guys, because I was running Gobsmack Creative Agency. We needed a new website. I knew Wes. I met him a couple of years before, and he was posting about Noco. And I think that was right at the time that you were launching that agency.
Yep.
And what really stood out to me was, oh, great. Like, no-code, low-code tools, meaning not such a complex and, such a hassle in terms of the development process, because I was really not looking forward to that. So it's like, okay, finally someone who gets it. So reached out to Wes. That quickly led to also being in conversation with you, and basically experiencing the no-code process firsthand.
Yeah.
So that is the no-code, low-code trend. But in terms of design, can you zoom in a little bit more? Because B2B SaaS and tech, that was already the target audience. But what did you notice with those B2B SaaS and tech websites where you would say, okay, listen, we can gain an edge here as Noco?
Yeah, I think most prominently it was like showcasing their products in a certain way. It was really like, I mean, if you want to sell a product online, you need to have a good looking website, obviously, right? Like, people land on your website and they need to have the feeling like, hey, these guys know how to fix my shit, basically, right? Like their service is like on point. And if the website doesn't reflect that, you cannot sell your product properly, right? Like it's...
Yeah, where did you typically see this sort of lackluster design? What was it? I would guess it were more like early stage, seed stage startups?
Early stage, seed stage startups.
Yeah, why do you think that is?
I think they just they have a great idea and they have built a product and they just want to launch quick, I think, without even thinking about the brand, without thinking about what is their whole purpose, what is the messaging, etc. Well, that is super important, of course. And I mean, launching upfront, right? Quickly launch a product is nice because you can validate upfront. That's why we build MVPs, for example. However, long term, I think you really need to be able to sell your product, and if you want to sell your product, then you definitely need to have a good website, man.
Yeah, I think also that you kind of get away with it when you have a cool product with not yet a sort of premium pricing, or maybe it's mostly free to use.
Yeah.
But then one of the common pitfalls I think for startup founders is that people like it as long as it's free or very low cost, but they don't want to pay for it at a premium sort of later on.
Exactly.
And then you spend all those resources developing, creating a product, and but that is all in vain at some point. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense that there's first a heavy product focus. We see it today with Noco customers, especially a little bit more towards the early seed stage. So much focus on product, which is very, very justified, because that needs to work, and that's where you want to add value ultimately for their target audience. But it also surprises me being at Noco now for a couple of months that, I see quite a few brands that are not dialed in yet.
No,
and this goes from visual identity to basically not having really an overarching purpose that they can that they can use to base everything on, and product messaging framework all over the place.
it's the main reason why you came up with the brand sprint.
Right. Yeah, we talk about that as well, maybe, but yeah, definitely one of the first things we did when I started at Noco is there was a very, very clear need for that. So, and you don't want to annoy the customer with a very long process, with a full rebrand and all the sessions and stuff like that. So we basically just identified 3 key areas of impact. One is you need to have your why defined, your why, how, what, a clearly defined overarching purpose for your brand, which is sort of also a framework for what do you do, what don't you do, and then focusing more on the product itself. Founders often have quite a good idea of the problem they're solving and the pains that they are taking away and the gains that they're providing, but that often isn't reflected in the messaging yet. So we kind of reverse engineer the product market fit that they sort of already have, just instinctively, because I'm a big believer in sure, successful founders don't need a value proposition canvas to find their product market fit. They know instinctively.
They know it,
yeah. However, it's the value proposition canvas is a great tool to reverse engineer that product market fit back to your actual value proposition, and then from that value proposition, you can write your brand copy or your product copy, your messaging house, basically. So that is what we do, and then the third thing, obviously, is a visual touch-up, which is always very exciting, right?
It is.
Because we used to do this in the design process sometimes, just because you couldn't help yourself creatively or one of our other designers, right?
Yep.
And but we can work for free, of course. So we kind of put that in a brand sprint service to give it the attention it deserves as well. To expand that new visual identity, touch up a little bit, not just the logo, but think hard about the color scheme, about font choices, some other design elements.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So back to Noco. So you spotted that trend in the market. You created productized offerings, design focused, no code, low code tools. and then you started selling it, or at least you tried, and that actually went very well. So I'm just curious to know, because I'm still to this day amazed by all of the cool US customers that are in the portfolio.
Yeah, it's funny to see, because one of our first real big customers, was basically via networking in real life. So there was a need, and the need was to basically have they had a great product, but they wanted to sell the product in short term. So they want to have a short term website, basically. What that was the needs. That was their needs, and basically, via we just chatting, and that was our first big client, which was Edge Impulse. That was one of our first big US clients.
Yeah, and this was exactly, but they also had a foothold in the Netherlands, I think, because one of the important people within that business was a Dutch person.
Yeah, and basically he said, like, we want to have a website that we can just work with, right? Like, we want to publish a lot of like events. We want to be able to do that flexible wise. We want to have a CMS that we can just, add copy in, add new events in, but it also needs to be creative at the same time. And basically they did have a website based on WordPress. I mean, WordPress is nice, but the downside of WordPress is basically, and I heard it from a lot of customers, is that it basically all consists of plugins, and it's a nice. The CMS is not bad; it's nice, but it blocks a lot of like creativity as well. And I think that was the main reason why we choose Webflow in the first place, right? Like, Webflow was our main tool back then, and that was based out of like basically that everyone was hating on WordPress, needed to have more like a lightweight, standalone tool to work in.
Yeah, no code, low code, basically.
No code, low code, basically, indeed. And they don't want to be depending on developers to fix stuff if it breaks, right? Like, because WordPress breaks a lot, basically.
Yeah, with all the third-party plugins, right?
Yeah,
I experienced that before.
That's the cost, basically.
It's so buggy.
It is. I mean, the only way to build WordPress in a proper way is to minimize plugins and build a template that is scalable.
So how is Webflow different when it comes to plugins? Are they more native?
Yeah, they are more native, so built in. Webflow now is a marketplace as well that consists of a lot of like apps, but you can just directly plug into your Webflow environment. But it doesn't hang on your template, basically. So when you basically install a app, so-called, in Webflow app store, it just activates it directly within your Webflow environment without touching the whole structure of your website.
So it's less prone to, faulty updates of plugins.
Yeah, we all have been there, right? Like, update your contact form, otherwise your website will not work anymore, right?
I also remember several years ago there was this. You heard a lot that WordPress website got hacked a lot as well. Yeah, attacked with. You remember that? Like, it was just the bugginess was just that was.
Yeah, because plugins weren't updated. So the thing is, like, you have these contact forms, and if you don't update them, your website is super vulnerable for attacks and spam and all that kind of stuff.
So that is one of the reasons why Noco chose Webflow. What are the other reasons?
The main reason was to just build faster. That was the main reason. We wanted to. Normally, a website trajectory was like 6 months on average, 5-6 months.
Holy shit!
Yeah, so a long development trajectory, because everything needs to be built. And if you use WordPress, you need to build a template that works. You cannot all of a sudden buy a template on WordPress because, again, from the
5 to 6 months seems like a very long time, though. Are you specifically talking about a bit bigger websites?
Yeah, bigger websites.
A large volume of pages.
It needs design and development, but the development was either built custom, so with HTML, CSS, so really from the ground up, or built in WordPress. But if it was built in WordPress, you need to have like a super smart template that worked. And with Webflow, we saw that we could basically build our designs, our custom designs, directly in a environment that's just super user friendly. It required a little bit of knowledge about HTML and CSS, so you needed to have a little bit of a coding background. But at the same time, it was a tool where you can just page by page build a website that just worked seamlessly, basically, in a short time, because you were sort of like also visually building your website in a tool, block by block.
Yeah, that was one of the things I remember when we did the Gobsmacked website, how quickly it became a visual process.
Yeah.
And how it remained a visual process throughout the entire process.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it was kind of zooming into Webflow right now. I sometimes say for Noco, design is in our why, no-code, low-code tools are in our how.
Yeah.
Meaning that we, at the core of what we are and what we want to contribute, design is a hugely important one.
Definitely.
And the tools like no-code, low-code, we built in Webflow predominantly, is a tool, but those tools can change, of course, over time.
It's a tool to achieve that goal, basically, to achieve the why.
Absolutely, and with new tools that come up, like Framer, like all kinds of AI innovations, etc., we constantly iterate that and try to implement it as we see fit, where it adds value to our customers. So before we get into the no-code, low-code stuff, even more, let's focus on the beauty part of it, design.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of pointers, I guess, outlined. And it's always cool. I mean, I know that you always follow up on design trends. You're always reading stuff, looking at new examples, whatever. So I saw this tweet from Greg Eisenberg that caught my eye, so I wrote it down. I see minimalist design dying because websites all look like Airbnb or linear. Homes all look sterile, talking about architecture here. Cars all look like gray eggs. And his prediction is personality is about to return in 2025. Color comes back, maximalism on the come up. The Home Alone house was right all along, and this is because he retweeted a post about the Home Alone house, the famous house from the movie that is for sale, and that they completely ruined it because that was a beautiful house, right? As a kid, when you saw the Home Alone house,
the
everything
aesthetics were like, really, and that's the thing, right? Like, personality is gone on a lot of websites.
It's sterile. It's nihilistic a little bit.
Yeah. People are really being like sort of like on a really minimalistic side of things because they think that work. And I mean, for some brands it works, right? Like Apple is all about minimalism, and that's good, right? That's their brand. Airbnb, same, right? Like all about minimalism. However, now in the whole SaaS landscape, and I mean, not even SaaS only, but throughout the complete web, it's all about. It's all the same trends, man. If I open up my Dribbble account, or if I scan through like web design trends or anything like that, like those inspiration websites, all the websites look the same.
Yeah.
And they miss character.
Yeah.
And if you'd ask me, like, how can you bring back that character?
That's exactly what I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's a hard question. But at the same time, that's maybe not web design, but look at what Ajax, for example, did with the logo, right?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
They came from like a super, historic kind of like feeling logo to a super minimalistic logo, and now they're going back to the old logo.
It was basically, their original logo was basically a fully illustrated character.
Yeah, way more craftsmanship inside there.
Yeah, and then the new logo came, and this is already in the early 90s, I think it's sweet, and that was super minimalistic already.
Yeah,
and the reason mostly is also merchandise, of course. It wasn't that sophisticated in terms of printing possibilities, graphic design possibilities. So. Yeah. If you have to do a lot of merch and you have to apply that logo to a lot of different assets, I can imagine that it's not really efficient to have a fully illustrated character in your logo. But the cool thing now is, with all the technology that is coming in, it is of course getting a lot easier that you can have a logo with such a level of detail and character.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, it's so much easier to replicate, to distribute. It's no problem anymore, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very cool to see that they brought it back, because when you see the logo, it's really old school. Like, it's super traditional.
It is, but it gives a certain feeling when you look at it, right? And that's, I think, the whole thing what is missing currently in web design. All those like feelings. I mean, back in the days, you know, like, and that's even like early internet times. Everyone was exploring with different layouts and different features that you could like achieve with technology, right? Like with maybe back in the days even with Java and you know all these like old school tools. But it gave a certain like feeling on a website. You know, you visited a website and you thought like it gave a certain like emotion, I would say.
Absolutely.
And
texture, like you could almost
feel it. Yeah. And I hope that trend. And now I think you said a good thing about texture, right? Like it's all about refining aesthetics, I think, in 2025. But like a lot of that comes down to emotional design, I would say. And really like going back to the core of a company. Because what you said about the brand sprint, for example, like revealing the why, I think it's really good to really dive into the purpose of a company before you even build or create a website.
Yeah.
Because then you know like the emotion behind a company. If you know the emotion behind a company, an emotion has a certain color, right, to it, for example. And it goes all deep into that sort of like really going deep in the design layers here. But I think that is the core of where it all should start. And hopefully that trend of like emotional design will come back in 2025.
Yeah.
Because currently we have like I don't know, pandemic almost of minimalism.
It's getting quite saturated, yeah. But so okay, let's dive into that. Let's put on our explorer boots here, because someone has to start. Do you already see that trend creeping in a little bit, aside from the Ajax Amsterdam example? And B, I'm super curious about your vision about just general ideas of how you would implement that, for example, in a B2B SaaS and tech website. Like, which are the elements that are sort of ripe for a little bit more depth and texture? And then my third question, you can bind them all together, is what role would AI play in that, in Gen AI?
Yeah, good question. AI plays a massive role in that, in my opinion. But not only AI, also interactivity, I would say, is a big part that comes along with the whole feeling of a SaaS product. Then in general, imagine having a website where you just can demo through your SaaS product in a super like lightweight, interactive way. Go through the main funnel of the product, for example, or highlight your features by just just make it interactive on the website, right? Demo it instead of a video or a static image.
Sure.
These are like these kind of like enhancements I would like to see in 2025. At the same time, with AI, you can just basically, I mean, AI is good, but you cannot make a 3D interactive tool right now with AI, right? Like it can support with that, but you still need to build it yourself. Where AI is really good in right now is to generate images for you. But not only images, of course, it goes way further than that. You can, you know, if you look at like, for example, let's start with the beginning of a project, right? Like you, wireframe, for example. Right now, if you use AI for wireframing, you can just open up Reloom, enter a prompt. You can basically explain the whole company in a couple words, and it just brings out complete sitemap and wireframing for you.
Yeah,
right?
like based on best practices probably and stuff like that.
That's where I think AI is becoming more and more advanced in.
Yeah, but before we go over the whole spectrum of where AI can contribute, to go back to the sort of the minimalist versus the more rich traditional design. So when we look at a typical B2B SaaS and tech website, right? You always have certain elements, certain sections that are generally the same. So you have a header. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's just a very minimalistic logo. But you have a social proof section. Pricing section. You have a feature overview section. You have, it's also clean, it's also minimalistic. So where in all those elements or sections do you see scope to make it visually richer and less minimalistic? Are we talking backdrops? Are we talking sort of buttons that have more depth and shade?
Yeah, I mean, those are elements to enrich the website, right? Like, but everything regarding that, what you just said, is structure, and that's based on best practices, right? What converts and what doesn't convert. And that's based on creating tons of websites, and you know a certain structure that works based on A/B testing, based on data that you just collect throughout the way. I mean, yeah, it depends also on the goal, right? Some websites function really well in its simplicity. That's also good to keep simplicity. Some companies just don't want to go into the whole old school vibe. Can also imagine that, right? So it's really depending on the customer, of course. But where does that where does it bring me to? I think the most important things is indeed like the feeling of the website in general. So that can be a button that if you click on it or if you hover over it, it gives a certain feeling, right? But also the movement of sections, the interactivity again on the website itself. It's not only what I said about like having a flow through your SaaS product, but it's also in other areas of the website. If you have a static visual, how nice is it that if you hover over a button in that visual that it actually does something, right? Yeah. All those micro animations and micro interactions, these are the things that makes a website alive, I would say. Yeah. And I think that's also where you can make a change in how people interact with on your website. Yeah, and we do that quite extensively. We love to make it a sort of a richer user experience, if possible, if valuable, and sometimes of course it's also just a matter of taste. Yeah, and there's also a lot of developments there, of course. I mean, you have tools like Spline, for example, that create those crazy 3D models that are also interactive, I think. Yeah. So lots of tools. We have that on our list as well, actually. I want to pick out an interesting one, and that's because it's quite a current topic for us, and that's wireframing. Yeah. You already mentioned it. Well, you mentioned it in reference to how AI can help with that. Maybe it ties into each other. But is there a case to be made that wireframing is, for certain projects, obsolete, and is the progressing technology that we have at our disposal, does that also play a role in that? So at its core, what is wireframing? Why does it exist? Which place does it have in the Noco process, and how do you see it progress into the future? Yeah. Good question. Wireframing is basically setting the structure of the website before you even dive into the high fidelity phase. And the reason behind it is because you can then upfront validate if the structure is good, confirm that with the customer, and then you know that the base of the website consists of the elements that you like to see in the website, right? You just basically confirm that during the wireframe phase. It's also a good moment to, for example, check in with your developer to see like, hey, what are the certain components or features that go into the website. But use case wise, I would say that counts for like the more complex and bigger websites. I'm talking about like 20, 25 plus pages. With smaller websites, anything, around like 10 or 15 pages maybe, that have a certain normal structure, I don't see the need of wireframing anymore, because what I discovered is you spend a lot of time, even though you have tools such as Reloom that helps you with wireframing, it's still a phase that needs to be checked off by the customer. And I think for these smaller projects, it's better to just dive right away into high fidelity design. Okay. Yeah. And so how does that tie into tools that are currently very much on the come up, like Framer, for example? Because to me, it sounds like that's what you're basically describing for those smaller products. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, you can even design right away in Framer. Yeah. Right? So give us a quick overview of Framer. So you hear it a lot, right? Some people obviously are experimenting with it that are listening.
You have some that are full-blown fans and go all out on Framer. But what is Framer and how does it compare to a WordPress or even a Webflow?
Yeah, Framer is more focused on design, so it's more design heavy. You see that everywhere, like in their UI, how it works. It's way more focused on designers. I mean, for for designers, it's a great tool to experiment in, and it's way more heavy on animations, interactions. But I mean, I explored with it a lot lately, and I think looking at what it already does right now comparing to Webflow, it's really growing, Framer, and it's really good.
Okay, yeah, cool. I saw great creations with it already, but the question is, of course, so where does it already have an edge over Webflow in your opinion, and where does it still lack? Especially when you look at the Noco customers, which are seed stage or sometimes even scale ups, B2B SaaS and tech startups. So, and they have different needs also internally and in the back end. So yeah, what is the edge of Framer right now? What is it lacking? And how do you think that will progress? What do you think Framer will turn into?
I think, okay, so let's start first. I think it depends indeed on the type of customer that you have. If you have more like a, what we talked before, like a large website of 30, 35 pages, and you need to structure that really well, but also at the same time, you want to build a complex CMS system. Let's call it like that. Then you need basically Webflow, right?
Yeah.
You can still create animations in Webflow. It's just more work. So you need to dive into the CMS and you need to work with interactions in the interaction panel, etc. It's just not on the foreground. And I think for these bigger websites that here and there like an animation, and but overall it just needs to be structured well. Webflow is the way to go. But Framer at the same time for smaller companies right now, and that's right now, because I think looking at what Framer does and how Framer really focused on the customer, I think from a couple years on it will be really a competitor for Webflow.
Yeah. So what are currently when you look at the back end of Framer, so as a CMS, I guess, how limited or how advanced is it compared to Webflow?
I don't know, not even that different, because you can still create collections in Framer. You can also create collections in Webflow. The only difference with Webflow is in its collection. So on a collection page, for example, you can do more advanced settings, such as like conditional visibility. Yeah. What we've been talking about yesterday, right? Yes. For a customer. So these are like more advanced way of showcasing stuff on the website. So you can basically say like if a customer is a VIP customer, for example, they see a certain section in a calendar, right, or in an agenda. This is just a minor example, but I mean that's the difference I think right now, where Webflow is really diving into more like the advanced settings. Framer is more really again focused on design. Yeah. But it brings the same. It also brings collections. You can still create a super nice blog environment. You can create a case study environment. Everything is also possible in Framer.
Right. Okay. And when you talk about the little bit more nitty gritty stuff, so very specific features that especially customers who get a little bit bigger in terms of organization, they have policies, they have security policies, yep. They have complex integrations, for example. Currently, we handle those complex integrations, the custom code stuff with Eli 5, our sister agency. You also mentioned Webflow having a lot of native plugins that sort of handle a lot of the features.
I think that's the biggest difference between Framer and Webflow. Yeah, the App Store and the third-party plugins, call it like that. I mean, Webflow has like 200 plus validated App Store apps. Whereas Framer has only like a couple ones. But the difference is like security-wise, both Framer and both Webflow are pretty much the same, because both have like SOC2 compliance. They both have SSL encryption, SSL certificates. Both are really good in security, right? Mm-hmm. The main difference, I think, is there as well the advanced settings in Webflow. So you can basically and it's an enterprise feature, but you can do a lot of stuff when you have an enterprise plan. You can use custom headings and custom security headers. I mean, it's too technical maybe right now, but that Webflow has a bit of like an advancement there.
Yeah,
comparison to Framer. But again, how important is that long term? Because Framer will probably also dive into that, right? Like they will probably extend their product with these kind of features as well.
How do they compare in your opinion in terms of UI?
Yeah, Framer is the winner here, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, it just looks way more slick. We can all say that like Webflow is a nice tool, but the CMS does really look outdated, to be honest. And they did an update, but then still, it's.
What do you see? So you guys have been at it since the early days of Webflow. I'm not even sure when Webflow was founded, but at least before it really hit mainstream.
Yeah, we started working on it 5 years ago, I think. 6,
yeah, all right, already. Okay, so you were there in the early days.
Yeah.
So you always see a progression with such a company, right? So how quickly they innovate, what is the quality of what they ship, Do you see what do you think of the progression of Webflow in terms of innovation and updating and adding new features? Are they still shipping quality updates? Has that declined a little bit? Are they slowing down? Are they being outpaced, outnumbered? What is your so the current snapshot of that whole no-code, low-code website builder market?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, I really had the idea that Webflow was basically getting in new features every month almost, right? Like they had like a really good like pace of publishing new features. It was really nice in the beginning, by the way. It was also really customer focused. So we as developers, designers, how you want to call us, but basically we feel really heard. They had a good community, a good forum. They had a wish list. They listened to that wish list, which was really nice. But lately, I have the feeling that they shift more towards enterprise. Every feature that I roll out right now has a price. So to give you an example, they just launched their Analyze tool.
Yeah.
I've bought it. I've installed it on our Noco website as well. It gave me 4 statistics of the website, and it cost me like $30 a month.
Yeah. And then I think there's another part to this story as well, another new feature.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I miss a couple things, right, in that Analyze tool. What do I miss? Well, I basically miss a feature that tells me what converts and what doesn't convert, right? Oh, there's Optimize. That's another feature of Webflow.
Yes.
How much does that cost? And I was looking at it, and it just brought me to a price of like $300 a month. And you need to install that on top of your Analyze package.
Yeah, and then the question is, of course, so hear me out. So because I wrote a tweet, we talked about this, and I wrote a tweet about it. So what I said was Webflow is massively dropping the ball with its Analyze/Optimize tools. Premium pricing for features without an edge is not the way to counter being outpaced and out-innovated by others. That was kind of my. I was so angry when I wrote that tweet. No, not at all. But that was kind of my feeling when we were reviewing it, because the Analyze tool doesn't really seem to have an edge over analytics or.
I was kind of shocked, to be honest.
Or clarity.
I was opening it and it worked and it was tracking our stuff, but it's really basic tracking.
Yeah. So my question then is like, so because the obvious advantages of having a native analyzing tool, analytics tool in Webflow that is completely tailored to the whole Webflow model.
They have all the data, right?
Yeah. So I was like, oh yeah, this is going to give us an edge. This is going to give us nice insights, only for web. And then it's just a budget version. Well, not budget in terms of the price, but a poor man's version of Google Analytics, right?
And Google Analytics is free.
Yeah. So exactly. So let's say that Webflow has this grand plan behind it where they will ship updates and make it into this amazing suite with all these very cool, very unique features. Then okay, fine, you know, all right. But when you launch your first version, make it free for Webflow users. I mean, I think we're a Webflow premium partner.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was annoying to see. I was what has your product team been doing?
I just don't get it. I mean, I get where they want to go to. They probably want to build an all-in-one tool in the CMS, in a designer, so-called, or the editor, whatever you want to call it. But I find it kind of like a weird thing, man. I mean, you build an all-in-one tool, but every feature has an own price. That's super weird, right?
So when you go to the optimized tool, so we use optimization tools, obviously, because we focus a lot on CRO. Yeah. We're actually at the verge of launching a dedicated CRO subscription for our customers. We're super excited about that, by the way. But so we were like, okay, maybe we can use the Webflow optimized tool. How cool would that be? But you looked at the features. It's a starting price of $300 a month. Yeah. But compared to the other optimized CRO tools that we're using, we couldn't right away see an edge in terms of functionality, right?
No, the only main thing that I saw was like building stuff for your audiences. And audiences is something you can, for example, create a certain page or certain elements visible for certain audiences, and you can track these audience by audience groups, which sounds very nice. But other than that these are like the only two features where I can say of like, okay, this is an edge. This could be an edge. Other than that, it's just A/B testing, and A/B testing is nice. But you can also buy an OptiBase plugin in Webflow that costs you like $9 a month.
Yeah, it's
it's just
quite interesting.
$300 versus $9 A/B testing. I mean, yeah, I know.
I don't know. Yeah, it's listen, Webflow and. Just to be clear, we still use Webflow and we use it almost exclusively at this point because
right now our main tool.
Yeah, because it is a great tool. It is a great tool. But looking at the sort of the features they ship, the pricing strategy, we have our criticism, and we're definitely with our finger on the pulse all the time, and obviously actively working or experimenting with Framer. What's a cool thing? I was talking to Naomi, our marketing manager, and we were brainstorming about this, also Framer. And, our sweet spot in terms of ICP is seed stage, B2B SaaS and tech startups. And we like that because usually they had their first serious chunk of funding. They are switching their focus from product to a marketing website. Excuse me. So that is a good sweet spot for us because they have the budget to do something significant with their digital presence, but also they're still malleable enough. You often still sit with, most of the times it's the first CMO or it's still directly with the founder, or a very small marketing team. So it's still very nice a way to make an impact for us.
Yeah, you can really make an impact still in this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is a great thing to do. But you also have a lot of early stage startups who maybe had a little bit of funding, but are basically still kind of bootstrapping, don't have a lot of budget. And Framer could be a very nice way, that's what we're actually developing and offering for. It could be a very nice way to give them the Noco design quality, the famous Noco aesthetics. Yeah. But they don't really have the same list of requirements that a seed stage or late seed stage startup has in terms of, a big team that needs to manage the CMS and all these roles and all these pages. No, they basically just need a compact, bang-in landing page type of website that converts, that has conversion moments, that captures email addresses, etc. Framer could be ideal for that.
Oh, definitely, but also to reduce development time.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, that translates into the lower cost of it, right?
Yeah, but also if you look at like how we normally do a project, right? Like it starts with design, then after that it needs to be built in Webflow. Yeah. With Framer, you can basically design in the tool itself, so it reduces a lot of like development time as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there are some trade-offs that we discussed. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so. That's why I said like design is in our why, the tools we use are in our how, because they are malleable and they will change over time. And the moment where you as an agency say, no, we will just stick with this tool or this brand as if it is a religion, it's the moment you stop developing as an agency. Yeah. So it's such a cool, fun way to also run an agency. Also with Jar, our senior developer. He's also super focused on just testing all the new tools.
Webflow.
Huh?
It's a Webflow guru almost.
Yeah, no, he's a Webflow guru. Yeah. He has his own YouTube channel. We're going to collaborate on that as well. He's like exactly. Even him, like he's completely committed to Webflow, and he's a guru, and he has again a YouTube channel, spends a lot of time on that. But even he has such a growth mindset where he's always looking for alternatives or additional tools. And you have the same as well. I have the same as well.
Stay ahead of the curve, man.
Ahead of the curve always. And what is it? That's why design is in our why. Design will always be at the heart of Noco. We will always go for these fresh aesthetics that do something different than the competitor of
definitely. But also the most important thing is that the heavyweight lays in design, right? The most critical decisions are being made during the design phase.
100%. Yeah, so we have a product, we offer productized services. Our 0 to 1 is a productized service, meaning it is a very strict, clear-cut process with a select number, with a fixed number of steps, with a fixed number of feedback moments, with a fixed number of communication moments, etc. Exceptions, of course, are always there. And we emphasize design like crazy. I talked with Wes about front-loaded energy distribution in our podcast, right?
Yeah.
And that is exactly what...
Definitely what it comes down to, yeah.
Totally, yeah. We go absolutely berserk on design because everything else becomes easier after that.
Definitely, yeah.
So creating early momentum, yeah, that's really cool. Like it's... The sort of the DNA of a design studio is really cool, and then that you do that with no-code, low-code tools, or that you let a robot build it, doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter in the end.
No.
I mean, a customer also just wants to have a nice website with a proper CMS.
Absolutely. So they have requirements when it comes to design, and they have requirements when it comes to managing the website.
And I can also tell you, I mean, the complexer it gets, also for a customer, right? Like, I mean, Webflow is a complexer tool.
Yeah,
but for a customer, it's also more complex.
Yeah, well, and it's necessary because of especially for when the teams get a little bit bigger. So it's necessary.
Yeah,
they have multiple people in the team that need to manage collections and that need to add and launch pages. Then the customers that are a little bit bigger, they outsource it to us in a subscription where we do it for them. But even still, then it's much like Edge Impulse, it's a collaborative effort.
Yeah,
and. So yeah, Webflow does have a lot to offer when it comes to, collections, using templates, quickly launching them, event pages, new landing pages, seminar pages, live events. So it is more of a heavy duty platform still, I would say.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know where Framer, what the development path, what the roadmap of Framer will look like.
Yeah, because basically with Framer, you skip out the development part, literally. So yeah, I think, I mean, I don't know where it goes, right? Like, I still think Webflow will be market leader, just simply because of the fact that they are everywhere. They have they have their credits, right? Like, they are a good tool. However, don't underestimate Framer, because it's really something that positively surprised me when I used it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And hear a lot of good stuff about it, and we're experimenting with a lot of cool things. So, for example, we're going to launch a new label next for the same target audience, B2B SaaS and tech, seed stage to unicorn, and it will be focused on brand and content, because this is clearly a supernatural progression for us. And we're definitely going to build that first landing page. In Framer.
Yeah, definitely.
These
are like the use cases that you would use Framer for.
Absolutely. You want to launch something quickly, that is what we do. So we launch something quickly. We craft a new offering in a couple of days.
Yeah, with a nice logo and a nice branding.
Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
And this is also this is why we also work for B2B SaaS and tech, because they want to move quickly.
Yeah.
And this is what we do with the subscriptions, of course. So we go for a 0 to 1 sprint, which is not a website a month, but in weeks. But so you have a solid V1. Go to market. Let's go. Let's launch. Yeah. And then you iterate and you start A/B testing.
And then we are like the flexible growth partner that goes along with it, right?
We're like we're a flexible team. No, but that's how it goes. But I just love the energy from that. It's quickly iterating, I used to say, like, when your website looks the same 2 quarters in a row as a B2B SaaS and tech startup, then you're doing something wrong. It should always evolve.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so basically what we talked about just now is less dev, more design.
Yeah.
And interesting times ahead, because designers are becoming less dependent on developers. We already noticed this a little. Well, the whole premise of Noco is that we are less dependent on development.
Yeah.
And developers are less dependent on designers, fostering true cross-discipline collaboration.
I mean, that's fun to see, right? Like, I mean, to be honest, it's also fun to see a developer using its creative brain, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know what are like normally. I mean, the developers were really restricted because they were depending on designers, right? They basically just built the things that the designer created.
And now our developers are
now they can use their own creative mind, and that's super interesting.
We now have developers prompting visuals
exactly
for websites,
and I love to see where that goes, right? Like, because in the end of the day, it's funny to see what they can come up with. I guess.
Yeah, from a completely different sort of mindset and perspective and skill set. Because true. Because even I can now create stuff visually that I couldn't before.
Exactly.
But I have good sort of spatial reading ability, and I'm good at distilling information into a comprehensive prompt.
Yeah.
So I have kind of the structure in my mind to write good prompts and sort of process a lot of information to get to a good prompt. So the whole skill requirements are kind of shifting a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a couple of tectonic plates underneath the Earth's surface that are shifting now, and it's very interesting to see where
it goes.
Where the sweet spot will be.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
you know, the so-called design engineers, individuals who are exceptionally talented in design and creativity, and who leverage AI to amplify their work, and who have a foundational understanding of coding.
That will be the sweet spot, man.
That will be the sweet spot. So you know, Jelle, you're basically describing yourself.
Yeah, that's true. I have a coding background and a design background.
Exactly.
Definitely. And then the tool to combine them together is basically AI that functions in the middle of it, right? Like, and that's limitless. It's really limitless.
Exactly, because this combination allows them to think and execute almost Okay, I'm gonna repeat this again. This combination allows them to think and execute almost limitless solutions, bridging the gap between design and development.
Yeah.
The heavyweight and critical decisions are now being made in design. Yay. Where the foundation of a successful website is created. Yeah, well, that is still the same. Customers choose us not just to design, but to craft the prompt. Yeah, exactly. That's what going towards. That's what it's moving towards.
Yeah, and everyone can sort of what you said yourself as well, right? Like that prompt and creating that prompt. I mean, everyone can basically help with that or do that or think about that, right?
Prompt engineering.
And but I think I mean the big winners again are design engineers, so the ones who know how to write a proper prompt, but also know how to design it, and also know now with no-code tools how to actually execute it in development wise, like in coding wise.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a magnificent blend of all these skill sets. And,
exactly.
You know, because I spent most of my years working as a creative director of the agency I co-founded. And so your job as a creative director is also mostly to come up with concepts, to write them and to brief them to creatives.
Yeah.
I already noticed in my last period at Gobsmack, when all the first generation tools came out, like, Midjourney, ChatGPT, Runway for video, I already noticed that I could go a little bit further than I would usually go. And I could already use those very early stage tools to visualize a little bit better to my creatives what I wanted to do or what I wanted to see. We used it for storyboarding, which was awesome. And it was still like the super crappy first version of DALL-E or something. So you really had to just, you had to look past all the weird deformed hands and people and just the weird sort of awkward looking uncanny looking stuff. But already then I could see that. So that was already sort of a skill shift for me. Interesting times ahead, but we are on top of it, and it's so much fun.
It's really fun.
Yeah, it's so much fun. And also, asking our customers, keep challenging us.
Yeah.
If you have an idea from, hey, can you do this with AI or that with AI? You can always ask us.
Bring it on the table,
Bring it and we will try it for you and we'll just make it into a nice experiment.
Exactly.
I'm also it's so cool that we landed a new customer who is a little bit outside of our ICP, but it's definitely a culture fit, which is narrative.
Yeah.
It's
Awesome guys.
awesome guys, and they are coming from the event industry. They're like heavyweights, like decades long experience in the event industry. These huge, knowledge event like the Next Web, huge corporate event, huge dance events. That is their realm. And they started this agency where they give workshops about like just everything generative AI and how it can help the event industry. Yep. And they go so deep in that stuff. They know all the tools. They experiment with everything. They have these awesome workshops. I think you and me will go there in January, right?
Yeah, January.
So, and we're building a cool new website for them to really harness their vision. And I did the brand sprint with them as well. Super visionary thinkers, super interesting to brainstorm with them. And their potential is limitless.
Literally limitless.
Because they do these workshops, but they are also working on digital products and building a community. And so, like they have so many angles to monetize on their vision.
And we're still in the start of AI.
Yeah, absolutely. And they are so far ahead of the curve in some respects that we are also like actively brainstorming with them. Okay, how can we use AI tools to implement them in our processes better? So yeah, sometimes you come across people or agencies or startups that are like a culture fit on a human level, on the way they think. So yeah, man, it's such an interesting really time to be alive. Yeah,
definitely.
Okay, let's see what we have on our list. Well, we have quite a lot on our list, but
maybe this is a nice one. Like hard to find design talent.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
That's interesting.
So Noco is growing. We're looking for new design talent. That's basically an ongoing thing. We always look for that, and we always want to sort of enrich our community because we always like to work with flexible capacity. I love it because it switches things up. Yeah. You always get new impulses and people doing things their way. Kind of
fresh minds. Yeah.
Fresh minds. Bit of a competitive spirit in the core team is also good to have. Yeah. But
the market is saturated.
Is it? How so?
Or saturated in a way that, I mean, I can be completely open with this. We actively post job openings on LinkedIn, and then you see a lot of applicants. And
oh boy. A lot.
Really a lot. Like even if you post a design application, you get like developers. Basically.
Yeah. What's that about?
I don't know, man.
So I even posted this on LinkedIn. Didn't really get an answer. But like when you post a job opening for a senior web designer, for example,
Java developers.
Dude, you put hard requirements in there, because LinkedIn gives that option, like hard requirements. They can't pass that wall if they don't click on yes. They don't confirm. Yes, I am. This requirement is for me. I passed this requirement. I never knew that there were so many full stack developers on this planet.
Yeah.
Why? Why do they respond? I just want to know why.
I don't know. I want to know why the fit is happening from the LinkedIn side of things. Yeah. And I want to know why a developer is basically interested in a design position, right? Like, why is he...
the most interesting thing to me.
Is he then hoping that there's also a development position within the same company? That could be the case.
Maybe, yeah.
But I mean, that's what I mean with the market is saturated. There are not only a lot of designers, there are also a lot of developers. And the search for finding talent is really hard.
Because it is so full?
Not only that, but also, I mean, let's say you find an interesting fit. You open up their LinkedIn profile, you watch their website or the portfolio. Sometimes they don't even have a portfolio on their LinkedIn, but let's say they have.
Well, if they don't, I don't even look at it.
No, exactly. Me too. Because I think like you probably don't have any work that you want to show.
This is another thing. Sorry to interrupt you, but this is something else that blows my mind. So if you, as a designer, if your first priority isn't to give me the easiest path to some sort of link that I can instantly click, like there is no way I'm going to engage with you. Not because I have not because I want to be like condescending or something, but
show your work.
I mean, I have hundreds of people in the inbox. I just give me the quickest path possible to that drives me nuts sometimes.
Me too, man.
And you know
portfolio should be the first link on your LinkedIn profile when you are open for work.
Before you say hi.
Exactly.
In a message.
Here's my website. Here's my work. Here am I proud of. This is the stuff that I built. But this is why you should choose me.
But you know what? What also then drives me crazy on top of that is that I know that, for example, when someone is young or less experienced, that maybe it's just, something they don't think about, but they're like this crazy talented designer that makes mind-blowing stuff. Yeah. And then what drives me crazy as well is that the thought that I might have missed like a generational talent. Anyway.
That's true.
Sorry, you were talking about saturation.
No worries. But I just found out that that's just, and I knew that this is already something that is basically from years. I think it's like 3 years ago I had the same problem, but it's just super hard to find good people. And if you think you found good people and you actually schedule a call with them, then that's one, right? Like you think, oh, nice, right? This guy has a good portfolio, but also was a nice call. And then you come up with how do you call it? Like the test, right? Like the design test that we always do, assignment. Yeah. And then it sucks. And then you already spent like, I don't know, how many hours do you spend on an average applicant? It's like maybe 3-4 hours. And then the design research that you need to do, the research that you need to do. Yeah. And I mean, that's only one person. And I know that there are a lot of companies like Canva, I think is the name, or Contra. No, Contra is the name.
Right.
They provide like, they provide like a complete helping tool to help you out with new people, right? Like just basically, it's not a recruitment company, but it's just a creative platform where creative people collect themselves, show themselves. Only certain ones are being qualified for that platform. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, they do a filter.
That's nice. But I mean, looking at LinkedIn itself, it's just super hard to go from only there. I mean, a couple ones are really interesting, and sometimes you see a really good fit there. Yeah. But I mean, of all of those people, it's super hard to find a couple good ones.
True, but you know what the solution to all of this is? Like literally all of this has become such a banger design agency with such a large footprint in the market, especially one industry, that the law of attraction kicks in, and only the best designers knock at your door.
Yeah, I want to join the company.
That's what we're going for. But I mean, even still, it's super saturated.
I had a quote, right? Like, not everyone who picks up a pen becomes Shakespeare.
That's true.
That is true.
That is true. Yeah.
I mean, everyone can design.
Mm-hmm. Even I, in this day and age, I can.
Everyone everyone can create a nice looking design portfolio. Yeah. With templates, with plugins, with like, it's possible. Yeah. But it doesn't necessarily say that you are that design yet. You breathe design, and design is your talent, right? Like
exactly that you understand the process of design. Yeah. And we know what's a very important one at Noco. I mean, you know this better than I, but it's really going from the introduction of a prospect that becomes a customer to identify the business objectives, and then to translate that in a design vision, to break all these rough chunks of information that the customer provided into a high converting structure of a homepage, for example.
Exactly.
That translation is a talent that you cannot. I mean, it's just you can't. I think you can to some extent learn it, but it's very hard to identify it.
Yeah. That's true. It requires certain helicopter view, but also, I think, experience, man, to be honest. Yeah. Designing so many websites just brings you in a certain knowledge base in your head, but also, and you can just work 2 times faster than someone who just starts or just at least 4 years in the field or something, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Saw that firsthand, here and prior experiences as well. Yeah. All right. Well, interesting. Designers keep coming because we have a very nice environment for you to work and grow and be creative.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And to experiment with all these goofy new tools that are coming out.
Yeah.
All right, man. Let's wrap it up. It was a pleasure having you here, Jelle. Next time, promise that you will play some guitar and sing a song, and maybe we can even sing a song together.
Thanks for having me, man. I will definitely bring in some music.
All right,
next time.
I hold you to that. Thanks, guys. See you later.